Despite the fact the ROG Ally is one sick, slick handheld PC, it came out of the box like a busted can of biscuits. Valve's deck wasn't perfect, but the Steam Deck definitely had less jank to unjank itself compared to Asus's device over here. But luckily, Asus has now... well, they haven't really rectified anything, but they did acknowledge the problems and have given solutions that you yourself as the end user can take or make yourself to potentially fix these issues. Let's get into it. Alrighty, Stallions and Stallionettes, welcome to the GamerHeaven. I'm your host, AK40 Kevin. Linked in the description below is going to be a slew of articles which I have in front of me, and they're all referring to the same topic, and that is the fact that the Asus ROG Ally had some issues right out of the box. I like this article the most because they break it into separate issues. I have some pretty highlights over here in a musty mustard color. The biggest issue, hands down, without a reasonable doubt, that has affected the most users and also is the biggest issue, is up to a 30% decrease in performance from one BIOS version to the next. And the sad thing is the updated version of the BIOS that you're prompted to update to is the one that actually has up to 30% less performance. Now, this is a drastic use case scenario. This is a little more typical of what people are seeing, about 1 to 5 FPS difference, but at certain titles, I was seeing about a 15 to 20% difference in FPS, specifically in turbo mode and specifically when not plugged in, going foot mobile or portable. A new BIOS version is going to be coming out in the near future that is going to rectify all of these issues, and in the meantime, what you can do is set up your own custom fan curves, which in essence is going to fix a couple of issues. The BIOS problem, SD cards getting cooked, the micro SD cards, expandable storage are actually getting burned up in the consoles. So by creating a custom fan curve, you can in essence fix those two issues, getting better in-game performance and potentially not cooking your micro SD card. Here's my problem with that. Instead of Asus actually giving an update with a new fan curve built into one of the modes, silent, performance, or turbo, you actually have to manually create a fan curve, which a lot of users of this device might be casual console players. This is their first PC, even though it's a handheld, and they're not really going to want to tinker with settings like custom fan curves. And unlike a PC where you're not really going to do too much damage messing with custom fan curves because you have a lot more airflow in that case, this is a very small form factor handheld PC over here. Now, you can dick around online, look through some forums, Reddit and whatnot. You'll probably find some nice screenshots of users that have made their own custom fan curves and profiles. The fact that Asus isn't making it easy is kind of sucks. Now, me personally, I've noticed over the last 3 or 4 updates that performance has readily been getting better on the ROG Ally, plugged in and on the go in all 3 modes. Well, I pretty much never use silent, but performance and turbo, it is noticeably better. As for the micro SD card issue, I personally haven't had an issue. I have a 1 terabyte micro SD card, but there are a couple of complaints from users that have had bricked or cooked overheated micro SD cards, and the issue there is that the micro SD card slot is on the top of the ROG Ally in comparison to the bottom of the Steam Deck, and this seems to be more of an issue in the version I got with the Z1 Extreme chip, which is definitely the version you should pop for if you are looking at a ROG Ally. It has noticeably more graphical performance, but in a future update that Asus is going to pump out, it will automatically boost up the fan speeds, but in the meantime, you can create a custom fan profile, or if you're having issues where it's just bricking your SD cards left and right, you can actually fill out an RMA, turn in your device, and hopefully get another one that has more adequate cooling for your micro SD card slot. The next one is going to be the joystick dead zones for those thumbsticks, and I was actually on the opposite end of the camp where I praise this device for having really tight out-of-the-box dead zones. And as somebody that plays almost exclusively on controller, yes, I'm proficient on mouse and keyboard, but for the last 2 or 3 years, I've reviewed over a dozen premium, custom, and pro controllers, the ones with the paddles on the back and the clicky triggers and swappable thumbstick caps, and I do a lot of thumbstick testing inside of Gamepad Tester and also other programs, setting up my own response curves for thumbsticks and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I had 0 issues with the dead zones. In fact, they were about 15% tighter than what I see on Steam Deck, and that comes down to the fact that on the Steam Deck, you have these really big software dead zones. They're at either 4 or 8,000, I think is the value, and you can bump that all the way down to the left. Just grab that slider, drag it all the way to the left. I recommend that's one of the first things you do on your Steam Deck, and you're going to feel so much more responsive thumbsticks. It's going to feel like you're on a standard PlayStation or Xbox controller, not Switch, because you have massive dead zones. I'm sorry. Now, the thumbstick issue is much less widespread. One of these articles mentions that it is a very small group of people that is having this issue, but here's what you can do to fix it. If you have Armory Crate and Steam or another launcher that are both doing their own software dead zone adjustment, they'll overlap each other, and Armory Crate's going to take over and apply the last setting over that. So you can actually go into Armory Crate and separately adjust the dead zones, inner and outer, for the left and right analog stick. I recommend you do that immediately, and I recommend that you launch games through Armory Crate. Even if you have them installed on Steam or GOG, Epic, whatever, you launch them through Armory Crate. That's going to do two things for you. Well, actually, it's going to do a shitload of things for you, but the main one here, it's going to tighten up your dead zones for you, and if you're having issues with your rear buttons becoming unbound, not paired to what you want on the front of your device, launching through Armory Crate will fix that issue as well. And the last one, I hadn't even heard of this one, not only me experiencing, but I just hadn't heard of it on the interwebs, and that is the touchscreen ceasing to function, which would really just tick me right off because that's the main way that you browse Windows 11. You're not using the analog sticks because guess what? They don't work some of the time. You're going to be using the touchscreen to navigate Windows 11. And their solution, Asus's solution, again, you have to do a little bit of legwork here. And if you're just a casual console player that picked up this little PC, you're going to be like, what? I have to go to my Asus and install a driver pack manually to this thing? Yes, if you're having touchscreen issues, that is the workaround currently from Asus. Why they can't just bundle this into an update that goes directly to the device, I don't know. Another issue that some users are having is audio distortion. This is another one where I was on the opposite end of the camp, and I praised these speakers for being freakishly loud, having pretty good low end for small speakers, just overall being Steam Deck killers, and the Steam Deck's built-in speakers were actually really good. So I had no issues here, but it seems like this is just with specific devices that might have actual faulty hardware, bad speakers. So in that case, hit up Asus, RMA that bad boy. And last but not least, if your ROG Ally becomes completely irresponsive, you basically got a $700 paperweight on your hands. At that case, I would hit up Best Buy immediately and get a refund. If you want to dick with it yourself, you have these steps right here. You plug it into the doodad, you do this for 30 seconds, you do that. Here's the steps that Asus recommends if your device is completely blown out in your hands. So it's nice that Asus has kind of addressed these issues, but again, they just nodded their hat and said, yes, these exist, we understand, but they haven't really made easy patches or solutions, which is unfortunate because Valve was very quick at the get-go, right off rip, with pumping out patches and updates that made the Steam Deck a very smooth device to use. And the Ally, it's taking a little bit longer for Asus to pump out these fixes, and the ones that we have thus far, you need to do a little legwork yourself. Download a driver pack from my Asus, or make a custom fan curve. Things that I don't really mind doing, but a lot of users of this device simply aren't going to want to do. If you enjoyed this video, a like is greatly appreciated. I'll see you in the next one. If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers. This information will reach and assist them as well, which in turn helps me grow this little channel, which I do greatly appreciate. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry, tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, as well as honest gaming product reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, mics, chairs, etc. There are some hefty exclusive discount codes found only in the description of my videos and only for the audience here at GamerHeaven. I have links to all my other platforms and socials in the description below. To get in touch with myself and the Stallions and Stallionettes of GamerHeaven, join the community Discord, and check me out at twitch.tv where I go live every other leap year on a blue moon if it falls into an odd calendar number, and my pH balance is on point. Just kidding, starting June I'm going to be live streaming a lot. Thanks for watching. This has been AK40 Kevin hosting GamerHeaven, and I'll see you tomorrow because I upload daily, all the time, 60% of the time, sometimes, most of the time. Peace.